Happy Friday the 13th, Motor Cars. Anniversaries this weekend, all on the 13th. We have Syed Raza, who is in Toyota sales, Aaron Weintraub, who is a Honda lot attendant, and Victor Adams, who's a Honda valet. So happy anniversary, folks. And then for birthdays on the 14th, we have Assad, Tony Elnahaz, who is a Honda technician. So happy birthday. As we approach Halloween, and it continues to make oodles of dough at the box office, and which is well deserved. I think it's one of the best horror films out right now. And as we plan our costumes for next week's party, if you like horror, you might want to check out my collection of horror short stories, which is called Grimmer, and which is free if you're an Amazon Prime member, and is also available at your local library. With more than 100 active retail campaigns between Honda and Toyota at Sam's suggestion, this week we're making some changes in our BDC processes. This will make it easier for our BDC reps to keep track of who we've contacted and who we haven't by making our calls and logging our notes via VinConnect, which is something that the salespeople have traditionally used. And our service managers will soon be able to see who we've contacted for conquest, declined services, and so on via VinConnect as well. This will also help our sales reps, as they'll be able to see more of what happens in interactions with customers on the service side of the business. And just like on the sales side, all of our calls are recorded as well, so we have something to refer back to if a customer doesn't remember a conversation the same way that we remember it. Getting back to Halloween and this next week's party, I have some interesting factoids for you to set the mood for the rest of the month. Trick-or-treating originated with the European tradition of mumming or guising, which meant going door to door wearing a costume to beg for treats or coins. There are an average 41 million trick-or-treaters each year, despite the fact that some cities now fine trick-or-treaters over the age of 12, which I think is ridiculous. It was mostly stopped during the 1930s because people hit hard by the Depression used it to beg. Plus, sugar was rationed during World War II, which made candy kind of a rarity, but it reappeared in the 1940s and early 50s to keep kids from pulling pranks. The most popular pranks at that time were throwing rotten corn, cabbage, and eggs at people's houses. Halloween itself originated as a Celtic festival called Samhain, when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead walked, and you wore a costume to keep your dead enemies from finding you. Carving faces into vegetables originated in Ireland, but turnips, beets, and potatoes were used instead of pumpkins. The jack-o'-lantern comes from an old Irish tale about a man named Stingy Jack, who conned the devil in order to avoid hell. As the story goes, when Jack died, God wouldn't let him into heaven, and he'd already cheated the devil out of his soul. So the devil forced him to wander the earth for all eternity, carrying a burning lump of coal. Jack made a lantern from a turnip to keep the coal in, and thereafter became known as Jack of the Lantern. The myth was brought to the States by Irish families fleeing the potato famine in the 1800s. And since turnips weren't very popular here, pumpkins were used as a substitute to guide lost souls to keep evil spirits like Jack away. Speaking of pumpkins, Ohio is one of the 6 states that produces almost all of the pumpkins that are sold this time of year. 1.31 billion pounds of pumpkins for Halloween. One of parents' biggest fears is that their children during Halloween will have their candy poisoned or pick up candy that contains razor blades. It turns out that this is almost entirely an urban myth. It almost never happens. And the myth itself originated with a young boy named Timothy O'Brien, who died in 1974 after eating pixie sticks his father had laced with cyanide to collect on the insurance money. The next Halloween full moon occurs in 2020, and the U.S. candy industry makes $2 billion every Halloween, and Halloween-related purchases in the U.S. generate about $7 billion per year, second only to Christmas. That's all I've got. Have a good weekend, Motor.